Okay, welcome to the Administrative Order 360 Stakeholder Input Session on Title 20, Chapter 17, Regulation of Post-Secondary Educational Institutions. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. The purpose of this meeting is to hear directly from stakeholders and members of the public regarding regulatory burdens or barriers in our current regulatory environment and those that you believe should be addressed as part of Alaska's regulatory reform initiative. Your input is critical in helping us shape meaningful changes that support students, families, and post-secondary institutions. And we will begin our meeting momentarily. We'll just give a couple of minutes to see if anybody else is going to join.
All right, well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jackie Hall, and I'm the Program Manager and Agency Regulations Liaison for the Alaska Commission on Post-Secondary Education. Today, I'm joined by Tyler Agan, Institutional Authorizations Program Coordinator. Tyler has extensive knowledge of the regulations of post-secondary educational institutions, and he's going to be walking us through and providing an overview of Chapter 17 today. We also have Cordell Thompson, Program Coordinator and co-host of our meeting, and Cordell will help facilitate the public testimony portion of our meeting when we get to that section today. So quickly, I'd like to first take a moment to explain how today's session fits into the broader regulatory process. So these stakeholder meetings provide an opportunity for us to hear your perspectives before any regulations are actually drafted, amended, or even repealed. Your feedback today is essential to help us identify any pain points, redundancies, as well as opportunities to improve clarity within our regulations. Please keep in mind, though, that your feedback does not guarantee that every suggestion will be adopted. Also, this is not considered a formal comment process under the Administrative Procedures Act. That process begins later after draft regulations have undergone legal review with Department of Law and then have been formally approved for public comment. As part of our regulatory reform plan, ACPE will create a list of all the comments that we received during this stakeholder process, and will document whether we intend to implement each of the recommendations. If we do not adopt a recommendation, we are required to explain why not under Administrative Order 360. And this is why your feedback today is so valuable. It will directly shape ACPE's analysis, and it will inform you of the steps that we'll take for regulatory reform. So here's how our meeting will proceed today. First, we'll provide a high-level overview of the regulations for this meeting. Then we'll move into the comment period where you'll have an opportunity to share your input. All questions that we receive during the comment period will be summarized and made available on ACPE's website, as well as the Alaska Online Public Notice System. All comments that we received will be summarized and included in ACPE's reform plan. We will provide instructions when we get to the public comment portion of our meeting today. Please keep in mind, if you prefer not to provide oral testimony, we do encourage you to submit written feedback. And to make it a little easier, we've developed a survey that provides a link to each section of the regulations in Chapter 17, and that will allow you to review those regulations and provide input. Of course, you don't need to comment on every section of the survey. Feel free to comment on only those regulations that are of particular interest to you. Written comments can also be submitted through the Alaska Online Public Notice System or by email, and we'll put links to all of these resources in the comment box for you. The comment period will also remain open for 30 days following this session to allow stakeholders to submit additional written feedback. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. As background to this particular meeting, I did want to share a little bit about Administrative Order 360, which is Alaska's regulatory reform initiative. This initiative was issued on August 4th by Governor Dunleavy to improve the quality, the transparency, and the efficiency of Alaska's regulatory environment. The initiative calls for a statewide review of all existing administrative regulations to reduce burdens by 25% by the end of 2027. ACPE's administrative regulations are in Title 20 of the Alaska Administrative Code under Miscellaneous Boards and Commissions. And as I said, today we'll be going over Chapter 17, Regulation of Post-Secondary Educational Institutions. This chapter provides the regulatory framework to ensure that post-secondary institutions in Alaska operate responsibly, ethically, and transparently while protecting students and maintaining educational quality. The regulations in Chapter 17 include Article 1, Authorization to Operate and Agents Permits. Article 2, Authorization to Operate as a University, College, Junior College, Community College, or Career College. And Article 3 covers general provisions. During this presentation, we'll provide a high-level overview of each section. And as we walk through these articles, we encourage you to think about whether the current regulations create any unnecessary burdens, whether they meet today's needs, and what changes might better serve schools, students, and families. We encourage you to follow along if you're interested in seeing the regulatory details, and we'll also provide links to each article in the chat for your ease and convenience. So starting with Chapter 17, Article 1, which covers authorization to operate agents permits, it includes citations 28 AC 17015 through 17145. And I'm going to turn it over now to Tyler, who will provide the overview of Chapter 17 for us.
Good morning. For the record, this is Tyler Egan, Institutional Authorization Program Coordinator for the Alaska Commission on Post-Secondary Education. As Jackie Hall stated, we will go through each of these citations, starting first with 17 subsection or section 15 for exemptions. These are 11 exemptions that have been identified as a lesser consumer protection risk. This includes short course of study, as well as many other areas that programs or institutions might not be needing to meet the stringent requirements that is found in the authorization process which we will discuss here momentarily. Yes, under section 16 is participation in NC SARA. Without this exemption, that is, it's classified as an exemption. Institutions participating in online distance education would have to apply for exemption from institutional authorization. This subsection for 16 clarifies and streamlines institutions that participate in that agreement. Under section 18 is the appeals process for institutions that have been denied an exemption under subsection 15, 16, or who wish to appeal a late fee that is charged to the institution due to a late application. Section 20 regards initial authorizations for institutions that do not meet an exempt classification or application process. They must first apply, and this details those requirements. And then, due to state law requirements, institutions have to renew their ability to operate through the renewal process under Section 25. In this, both processes includes the review procedures, what information is being gathered, and what the timelines looks like before proceeding to commission action. Sections 30 and 35 deal with agent permits. This is a process that if a recruiter were to enter the state of Alaska trying to get students interested in their institutions located outside of Alaska, that they would need to obtain a permit. However, it should be noted that in current regulation, this agent permit is not required by any institution that is currently having a valid authorization or exemption from institutional authorization to operate. Section 40 deals with status changes. The commission must approve changes for any type of changes, or must approve changes prior to implementation. Some of these require approvals at the commission level at a quarterly meeting, while others can be approved by commission staff. Those details are currently found in regulation. Under Section 45, it deals with bonding requirements or other negotiated securities that must be obtained or must be held by institutions to benefit students and the commission if there is a abrupt closure or violation of the commission's statutes or regulations. Section 55 deals with institutional fees. And Section 60 deals with general operating standards. This is the start that really starts to define where the boundaries are or where the guidelines are that institutions must follow in order to start operating a post-secondary institution. Institutions on an annual basis must submit annual reporting information as found under Section 62 regarding financial outcome, or sorry, student outcomes, financial viability, as well as other measurements that the commission has deemed needed or important to be reported on an annual basis. Section 65 is regarding institutional and course names to ensure that students are no longer misled, or sorry, are not misled regarding the representation of any course or any institution and what they are delivering. 770 is advertisement and solicitation, continuing along the lines of consumer protection to ensure students are not misled about programs, costs, whether an institution is any type of accreditation has been received, as well as our catalog requirements are defined in regulation under Section 75 that best allows students to know what institutional policies may exist, what important dates are, and other information that will be applicable to their enrollment and continued education at the institution. Section 80 deals with educational credentials. These are the standards that students must be receiving once they complete a program of study at an institution. as well as Section 85 involves the enrollment contract, which is the legally enforceable contract that an institution and a student sign regarding the services that should be provided. Section 90 has requirements for supervisors and instructors regarding what type of qualifications they may need in order to be providing educational instruction, as well as sections 95 regards the type of facilities and equipment that must be reported to the commission to ensure that it is the properly staffed, properly equipped for students to meet the program's objectives. Health and safety can be found under Section 100. This ensures that institutions are maintaining adequate health and safety standards. And Section 102 is regarding financial soundness to ensure that institutions are operating in a manner that they can fulfill their commitments to students and their creditors. 105 has ownership in governments to ensure that if there are owners or senior management that have a stake in the institution more than 10%, that we're aware of their responsibility or any type of potential implications that could result as a result of their ownership. Section 110 regards the record procedures, what type of student records that must be kept, how long they must be kept, and this is reviewed during site visits, of course. Institutions may have a leave of absence policy to allow a student to discontinue enrollment for a period of time. This section under 111 defines some policies that are what must exist in these policies, so that way institution and student have articulated understanding of what their leaves may be. Section 115 has requirements on tuition and refund policies, indicating on a Likert scale how much a student might be entitled to, depending if they withdraw from a program, how much money they might be able to receive, and other kind of tuition and refund standards. If an institution or program or change in program were to take place under Section 117, it indicates the regulations on how that were to take place to ensure that students are being protected in untimely notifications. And the purpose of timely notifications, it allows some guidelines for institutions to potentially be taught out of their existing program or move to a similar program offered by another institution. Under Section 120 deals with additional practices that are not prohibited at the commission level beyond that was found in the advertising section of 70. This includes ensuring that institutions have adequate staff, adequate facilities, and making sure that they're not misleading students to the reality of their operation. For the record, there is a section 125 revocation, suspension, conditioning, or refusal of authorization. Unfortunately, that this was missed on the slide, but I will inform individuals that under 17 or 20 AAC 17.125, this section relates to the commission's ability to, in its discretion, to refuse to issue or renew an authorization to operate, or how it would proceed to revoke, suspend, or condition an existing authorization. Oh, there we go. Section 130 is the start of the formal complaints process, which outlines the procedure that commission staff start when beginning a formal complaint. Under 135 is informal complaints. This provides some guidance to students to understand how the complaint process works, as well as provide some guidelines to what the commission staff's role is in facilitating complaints. Section 140 discusses some of those guidelines of what commission complaints we will receive regarding the timeliness of when the complaint was received. We do not take anonymous complaints, and under section 140, we identify kind of what those exceptions that we do not accept complaints under. And lastly, the last section in Article 1 is 145, which is the complaint process. This is a lengthy process that outlines for institutions, complainants, and commission staff what the process will be in the manner and how a investigation will take place regarding a complaint. And that wraps up Article 1 of 20 AAC 17. Article 2 is authorization to operate as a university, college, junior college, community college, or career college. It starts at 20 AAC 17-205, which is the use of the terms university or college. It is a statutory requirement that all institutions that operate in our state have permission from the commission to call themselves a university or college. This regulation continues to define what benchmarks there needs to be in order to call yourself that type of institution. Under 210 is the guidance regarding the standards for degree programs to ensure that they're meeting an academic rigor and can be, classes can be transferred to like institutions. Section 215 involves the mission statement that institutions that offer a degree must have, and the regulations that define what the commission is looking for regarding an institution's mission statement, as well as an institution that offers a degree program must have a governing board, and then a majority of the institutions governing board can't have potential conflicts of interest relating to the operation of that board unless approved by the commission otherwise. Section 225 is the requirements for degrees and degree programs. This ensures that the degrees are meeting accrediting standards, as well as other quality assurance programs to ensure, again, the transferability. And when institutions offer a degree, it is a uniform standard amongst all institutions. Section 230 involves the financial and record-keeping standards that institutions must meet to be in compliance with either the creditor standards, state standards, federal standards, or best practices. And this allows the institutions to follow those guidelines. .235 is the Learning Resource Program, commonly referred to as the library support services that may exist at an institution to ensure that students have adequate access to resources and support services. And institutions must have an institutional assessment program under 244, ensuring that the degree programs that are being offered are being able to evaluate, effectiveness with their programs and ensure that the programs are meeting certain guidelines. In section 245, facility standards, this currently, this previously was expanded recently in 2025. This was changed to saying institutions that are accredited must meet their accrediting standards. Section 250 involves admissions requirements to ensure that there are, again, standards that have to be met for students who are applying to degree-seeking programs, that there is a threshold for them in order to meet it or to gain access to admission or other standards that can be met to do that. And lastly is section 255, the reporting, which ensures that institutions who receive notice from their accreditor are required to share that information with the commission in a timely manner. And that wraps up Article 2 of the Regulation of Post-Secondary Education Institutions. And moving on to the last one, which is Article 3, General Provisions. These have just two short areas. One would be the definitions. These, again, is pretty self-explanatory, but it allows us to define what the words accredited mean or business day. And then lastly, access to institutional authorization files if members of the public or others were requesting information from the commission. This defines how one would do so. And that wraps up my section. I will now turn it back over to our staff in Juneau.
All right, for the record, this is Cordell Thompson, Program Coordinator. We will now begin the public testimony portion of the meeting. Just a few guidelines before we get into it. If you wish to submit a formal question or comment, please go ahead and enter your name into the chat box. If you are participating via telephone, however, then we will unmute your line and ask you to provide your name and ask whether you would like to submit a formal question and comment. And if so, we will add your name to the list. When your name is called, please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and then share your question or comment. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to provide public testimony. If you prefer, you can submit comments in writing via the survey, through email, or through the Alaska Online Public Notice System. The comment period will remain open for 30 days following this session to allow stakeholders to submit additional written feedback. And please remember that we are here to listen and will not be engaging in debate or responding directly to comments or questions during this session. All questions received during the comment period will be summarized and made available on ACPE's website, as well as the Alaska Online Public Notice System. And all public comments will be captured for the agency's record and considered as part of our Administrative Order 360 Regulatory Reform Plan. We will go ahead and pause for a few minutes now to allow time for individuals to submit their interest in providing public testimony. Once again, if you are interested, please go ahead and enter your names into the chat box. All right, it looks like we do have at least one person interested in providing public testimony. So Valerie Davidson, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and you will have 2 minutes for your public testimony.
Good morning. I lost my voice, so my apologies for my voice. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my name is Valerie Nuharal Davidson, and I serve as Executive Director of an organization called Youth League Nagavat, or People's Learning Center. And we provide training here in Bethel, but we serve the entire region, an area about the size of the state of Georgia, 75,000 square miles, almost 60 villages, and no roads connecting any communities. And I think some of this is, I really appreciate the teleconference today, really helpful. And I think most of our comments, as you know, we've just had a pretty significant disaster here in the region due to the storms. And we have about 2,000 individuals who are displaced from their homes from both Qipnaq and Guiginloq. Many are in Anchorage, some are in Bethel, others are able to stay with their family in other communities in the region. My brother and his family of 5 are staying in my house in Bethel. And all of these folks are going to be looking for jobs. Some of them will need training. And anything that we can do to support them, I think many folks have reached out. We really appreciate it. And I know these regs are a little probably more general than applicable to my comments, but I am sharing this everywhere I can just so that we can help to get the word out. That what we know from our experience here in the region is that while some students are very successful when they go outside of the region for training, most people, especially those who are from very traditional communities where Yupik is their first language, very steeped in their culture, we have so much less homesickness. Unfortunately, for many of our people, when they travel to larger communities, even communities like Seward or Anchorage or the Valley, they do have few people who are trying to take advantage of them. It is really horrible. And we know that we have better retention rates. As an example, our public safety training program, when students participated in the training program in Sitka, which is a lovely place, there was a 50% attrition rate. And now that we provide that training program here in Bethel in the region, our attrition rate is almost zero. And even the transition to Bethel is really, really challenging. And most of our average village size is about 300 to 350 people. So a community like Bethel of 6,000 people is really big. And we would be like the New York City of this region. There's no difference. And I just want folks to remember as you're implementing programs that the people who have been through this event, certainly the people in the villages, but all of us in the region who are supporting them, it has been an incredibly traumatic experience for everyone. And they've been through enough. And anything we can do to cut down on any red tape, maybe not in the programs that you are directly involved in, but to the extent that you have friends and colleagues in other programs, please help to spread the word. People have been incredibly wonderful and generous. One of the great things about living in Alaska is we always instinctively do everything we can to help our friends and neighbors, to make sure that as many people make it through the winter as possible. And so all of you who have been reaching out and helping and donating, we cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. And many of us, honestly, when we put our head down at the pillow at night, we cry just from the generosity of people and the things that our families are going through, who have literally lost everything they have worked their whole lives for, and they've lost it all in an instant. And so with that, Goyana Chaknak, we really appreciate your efforts to streamline regs and streamline programs and opportunities. It always makes a difference, but today especially, it means everything. So with that, Joy, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for that comment. We will go ahead and just allow a couple more minutes to see if anybody else logs in or if anybody else wants to provide any public feedback. And then if we don't get anybody else in the next couple of minutes, then we'll go ahead and end the meeting. So we'll just give a couple more minutes here to see if there's any additional interesting public comment. All right, I'm just going to do one quick last call for any last additional public comment. We'll give just one more minute or two. So if anyone else on is interested in providing a comment, please go ahead and let us know. Thank you.
All right, for the record, Jackie Hall, I'd like to thank you for your thoughtful input today. As a reminder, the comment period will remain open for 30 days, and we do encourage you to share additional thoughts in writing to ensure that we're able to capture all perspectives. ACPE will review all stakeholder input, determine whether each recommendation can be implemented, and of course, explain our reasoning if we're unable to. This analysis will be completed before any draft regulations move forward in the formal public comment process under the Administrative Procedures Act. Your engagement today is essential in shaping reforms that matter for Alaska's students, families, and educators, as well as post-secondary institutions. I do want to let you know that ACPE will be conducting its final stakeholder meeting on Chapter 18, which covers our WICHE Professional Student Exchange Loan Program, and Chapter 19, Financial Support for the WAMI Program, on Wednesday, October 29th from 10 a.m. to noon Alaska time. On behalf of ACPE, thank you for your time and commitment, and we will now conclude this public stakeholder meeting on Title 20, Chapter 17 of the Administrative Code on Tuesday, October 28th at 10:38 a.m. Thank you so much.